Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Voices of Rondo, second season, episode 1. I'm Jahai from High School of Recording Arts, and I'm one of the hosts. And here are the other two.
Hi, my name is Erica, and I'm a recent graduate of Brooklyn Center High School.
Yo, what's up, everyone? My name is Voices. I'm also a recent graduate of Brooklyn Center High School. I'm very excited to start this new season.
Yeah.
Talk about we have a lot of things planned.
Yeah, and with a new host. We've never had Jahai on before.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for having me.
Yeah, very excited to have you on. So last season, we looked more at the past of Rondo and the African American experience with transportation policy, specifically the interstate system, the construction of that, and how it displaced many thousands of Black families, and the economic devastation that caused to many communities across the country. It was a nationwide thing. So in this season,
we're going to be looking at the present of what's going on in Rondo now, the students that actually go here, and the people that just live in Rondo, the Rondo community.
Speaking of the students that go here.
Yeah, so this episode is really going to be centered around an event that the Youth Council hosted back, when was it again? May 15th?
May 15th.
Yeah, May 15th.
May 15th.
So that event was really about the Youth Council introducing our podcast to a younger audience. So we hosted that here at High School for Recording Arts. Yeah. And so we basically showed different clips from our podcast to different High School for Recording Arts students. And some of the main core topics that were covered with those clips were topics about gentrification, topics about displacement, and then once we had all the students watch the clips in one large room, and then afterwards we broke off into different breakout rooms to have a more deeper discussion and have the students really critically think and talk about what they just watched.
Yep. We're also going to show you one of the clips we showed at the event to the students, showcasing one of the interviews we did with Kevin Washington, a Rondo community member, musician, and teacher at Walker West. So here it is.
I didn't know it was a big deal for a Black person to own a bank until I left Detroit. Did not know that. There is I can't remember the name of it, but there is a Black-owned bank in Detroit. And that bank is now in Minneapolis, I think. I think it's open. I just can't remember the name of it. My parents used to be a part of that bank. And so it wasn't a big deal to us. With Detroit, you saw every society of Black people. Like when Obama was in office, people were like, oh my God, I've never seen a Black person like that. I'm like, that's just regular to me. Or you got Black suburbs in Illinois, Alabama, Atlanta, or I should say, Georgia, Michigan is, why are you jogging? That's white people stuff. No, Black people jog too. But I hear these dumb comments. I hear comments even from Black people. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? I hear these. I'm like, y'all got to get educated. Y'all need to leave and go see the world. But anyway, no, I forget my frame of thought. But how people say racism doesn't exist, and you see all these people getting killed over and over for the dumbest thing. And then you hear stupid comments like, well, they shouldn't have ran. I don't know what they about to do. Sum up. Nobody thinks about this before they run their mouth. Why did she run? Or why did they move? You ever get your hands twisted up for something you didn't do? No, shut up. You don't know what you're talking about. It gets to the point where you get pulled over by a cop. You're like, okay, are they going to start tripping? What are they going to do? What kind of cop am I dealing with? And so for those of you that are that stupid to say, why did they run? They shouldn't have ran. We don't trust them. And the police hasn't been good to us or the Latinos or the Native Americans, because I got to add them too. And they're part of this too. It's just not us. Oh, and poor white people. I be telling poor white people, I'm like, your own people putting you in slavery. They don't care about you because you're poor. You got poor white people that are racist. It's like, at the end of the day, you gonna get left behind. Right. You ain't got no money. You gonna get left, but you might as well come on over here to the dark side.
So we're gonna show y'all a clip from staff here who goes to HSRA, who's very respected among students. Phil. We're gonna show a video of his thoughts right after the event. So here it is.
Is there anything that you've learned from this experience? Just like one thing that stuck out to you?
Yeah, I thought what was compelling to me was the gentleman from Detroit was putting into perspective how this was national and all these different states that shared the similar experiences that Rondo community did, and I didn't really know that it was that much volume of gentrification and so forth.
Yeah, so that was some thoughts about how the event went, but I wanted to ask you both, because you both were there, like what were your thoughts and takeaways? How did you feel about the event?
Yeah, I guess since I'm a little bit new on this podcast, I'll go first.
Mm-hmm. But you're also a student.
Yeah, I'm also a student
here.
That went there,
yeah. It was very interesting. I wasn't expecting as many students to like attend this, but it was a good turnout. I think mainly because at the time, it was like where everyone already breaks off into like different rooms. So it was a pretty good time. And just to be able to like get the input of the students that I really didn't really know. It was nice to know that some students really did care about like what's going on, and like, yeah, it was a pretty good time. There was a few times where like they didn't seem like they like really cared about like what was going on. More participation.
Yeah.
But for the like very few that did participate, it was like, oh, you really do care about like what's going on, and like that's just, I don't know, that's really cool to me.
Yeah, I felt very similar. Like at first I felt like it was kind of rough because like there was a little bit of like
a lot of energy.
Yeah, there was a lot of energy.
Yeah.
There was struggles to get students to like sit down and just like listen to the content and like engage in conversation, especially in the breakout rooms. But I feel like as we kept on doing that and we did more and more clips, I felt like that engagement was really getting there. So I feel like if like we did like more events like this and like really warmed up to students and really like figured out what worked and what didn't, I feel like we could really get like good conversation out of this.
Yeah, you
Definitely.
guys took it right out of my mouth, the words. Yeah, I feel the same way, with your point about like not participation. I thought everyone wasn't going to participate.
Yeah.
I'm so happy that a good portion of students did. Yeah, what you said about doing this event over, learning from what works and what doesn't work. That's really a thing that we really put out. Like meet the community where they're at, right?
Yeah.
So we went to the school and we met them where they're at. The Kevin Washington video, I feel like that really got some people thinking.
That spurred a lot of conversation.
Yeah, about displacement, gentrification, and also how Kevin was talking about what black people can and can't do, or like what's a black person, what's a white people thing.
Yeah.
Right? What do y'all think of that?
Man, I think it's really wild that we like kind of force ourselves to not do things.
Yeah, stereotype ourselves.
Yeah, we stereotype ourselves.
Yeah, like a big part of that video was like talking about how like as a society, like we've created like a list of rules and like appropriate behavior for how certain races should act.
Yeah.
And like you need to follow that to be considered like a real version of whatever race that is. It's interesting.
It's so wild. I was thinking earlier today on like how people say black people or people of color can't like, I don't know, jog.
Yeah, that was what.
Yeah, or like ride bikes through the neighborhood.
Yeah, I
or
can't.
Like, it's like,
that's
a white people thing. Like what?
I forget the one I was thinking of. There was another one. I was like, it's wild that we say we can't do these things, and it's so fun. Mm-hmm. And we're just like
you restrict yourself.
Yeah, we restrict ourselves,
that.
and we even attack each other, our friends, on doing those things.
Like shame them. And
yeah, we shame.
Yeah.
And it's insane.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And there was some discussion about that in the breakout rooms, which was very interesting. Now it wasn't in my room, but I heard that it was happening in your room, Erica? Or?
Yeah. I mean, it just some of the students just had a lot of trouble like really deconstructing like why do they think this way. Like we were really like pressing like the question of like, so like you genuinely believe that like black people and white people or whatever are supposed to act one way. Why do you think that? And like they just had a lot of trouble like deconstructing that.
Right, because it's more taken from somewhere. It's not something they came up with themselves. Like
right. This is taught behavior. Yeah.
Very much so.
Yeah, and it is, unfortunately, human behavior to do that, because It is something that we had to do when we survived back in the day to like associate certain things with like certain animals or things. But hey, stay away from that.
Also,
right?
I recently,
Right.
I also recently took like a sociology class, and it really got me thinking about this one theory called the labeling theory, where like it's basically about like if somebody is labeled, or somebody or some group is labeled as something for so long, like they just eventually start becoming that, like because that's what everybody expects them to be. So it's like, well, I might as well just do it,
Right.
you know?
Yeah, I took a psychology class, and it was something called, it was a heuristic. Something's called a heuristic, but I think it was like the availability heuristic, where pretty much your brain goes to the easiest association. Like you don't try to think more. You just be like, oh, association. You just associate that. And you just don't think about it.
Right.
You just do it. So that's that's goes hand in hand. Sociology, psychology.
Oh,
Definitely.
I just remember the comparison. It's when like black people say that like you can't listen to metal. I'm a huge metal head, and they're like, no, that's that isn't like something that we should listen to, and it goes way further into like music, food, TV. It's like there's so many different things that we just like cut ourselves
and
off
I think
from.
it even like transcends race. Like
Yeah.
it really goes with like any label that humans have created. Like
Very
when it
mu-
comes with like
yeah.
gender labels or sexuality labels
Yeah.
or like what country you're from. Like
Yeah,
all these
different cultures.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm sorry, I'll watch My Little Pony any day.
Yeah, I just feel like people really struggle to like understand that humans are very fluid, very intersectional.
Yeah.
Like it's not very realistic to expect like these such rigid boxes, you know?
Right? Yeah.
You be you, bro. You
Yeah.
be you. You know? Don't try to conform, you be you.
Okay, so with that, like what are you taking away from this event? Like what are you going to remember from this event that we hosted?
Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah. One thing that I'll take away from this event is that if you put in a little effort to reach out to people where they're at, you're gonna get good results, right? Like how we did in the event.
Yeah.
Because my friends, personally, couldn't give two, you know what about politics, right? But there's sometimes where like they just get adamant about it when it's like a certain issue, right?
Right.
Like I remember one of my friends were like mad about like us sending money to like Ukraine. And I was like, oh yeah, why are you mad about that? It's like, well, they could put that money here. Like, why can't they fix up the roads and stuff like that? I was like, yeah, you're speaking my language now.
Yeah.
So like,
yeah.
if any organization, any nonprofit can put in a little effort to go to these places like schools, community centers, right?
Right.
You'll get results. You'll get feedback.
Yeah.
I feel like one of my main takeaways, I feel like a lot of people just assume that youth aren't interested in talking about political things, not interested in talking about race, not interested in talking about systems of oppression. Like I feel like a lot of people assume that, but it's really in the way that you go about it. Like at first, like we could tell that something wasn't working, but it's just really about consistency. It's all about switching things up, trying a different teaching style, like you said, meeting people where they're at, figuring out what's working, what's not, getting accustomed to the people you're discussing with. I mean, like it's really like you can't. I lost my train of thought.
No, that's fine. Jai,
We'll just cut it off.
Jai, what you
Okay.
think?
I did
What are you
want
taking away?
I did want to add something to like you saying that like it's like no youth wants to, or it looks like no youth wants to interact with like all that.
Yeah.
And I think one main problem is like they're putting all the old people with the old people and all the young people with the young people. So then there's like,
there's no like
yeah,
intergenerational interaction.
Can I bring something up?
yeah,
Me and you were eating out at this Thai place.
Yeah.
And then me and our editor were talking about, politics. And you made a comment.
I
was
did.
Like, oh yeah, they're talking about old people things.
I did.
And I
I
got mad at
did.
you. I was like, what'd you say? But no,
Yeah.
maybe the
It's-
topic that we were talking about was,
Oh no, I was
what
just
you
joking.
associated.
I was just joking around.
oh yeah. But
But-
like, that is
yeah.
an example
Yeah.
of
No.
that. But like, I don't know.
But
But then y'all soon came around to the discussion and we're talking about it. So like, yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
yeah, and it also bothers me like how we all just believe that like when it comes to talking about those big kind of conversations that like I feel like older people kind of like
Make it boring.
No, they criticize youth and like, oh well, y'all can't be.
You don't know any better.
Yeah, you don't know any better. Like we try to teach you, but you're not interested. Like I don't understand why they act like that when like they want to just shield us from so many things. Like it's do you know how many states are trying to ban books about critical race, trying to ban books about just so many different things? Like how are you gonna be mad that a lot of us don't know a lot of these things, but like older generations like shield us from these kinds of topics, and like it's just crazy.
They're trying to gatekeep the political process,
right?
You know, they don't want us to know much, right? Because they want to keep their power. They don't want young people to, you know, finally take over, right? You know, millennials and then soon Gen Zs, right?
Right, because younger generations are usually the more progressive ones.
Yeah.
And so that's like when things start to get moving, when we get involved.
Yeah, very much so. Yeah.
What will y'all remember about this event? What's one thing, moment, one thing you'll remember?
Well, I'd say just like us breaking off script in the room, and just like trying to like still get like information, but just like, you know, it was kind of just completely free form. We're just like, okay, what we have planned is not working.
Right. We were very fluent. And, fluid.
So like,
that's the word.
Yeah, we tried to.
Yeah, honestly, we're going to show them later, but we did interviews with students, like getting their thoughts after the event, like how we did with certain staff members. And that was definitely what I'll remember. I remember being really proud of just like how like we really got through to certain students and how like we really gave students a platform to talk about these. Like I just felt really proud that we were able to make a difference in people's lives.
Yeah, and honestly, to add on that, those interviews show the points we just made of like meeting people where they're at, maybe doing more messaging, like different types of messaging towards young people to really get their thoughts out about these issues, right? Yeah. Because you could. Okay, let's probably not go into that too much. Let's show the clip first.
Right.
So enough about our experience about the event. Let's go into these two student interviews that we were just talking about. Malachi and Marquis. We interviewed them right after the event to get their thoughts. And the clip that we're going to show, I think we're going to show 3 clips back to back. Pretty much what we asked them was, what would you like to see in your community? You know, what would you like to see done? What's something that you remember, like from your parents, like what they said? What would you want that to be done here?
Yeah, because they both have connections to Rondo.
Yep,
they go to school here.
The descendants to Rondo, they go to school here. Yep. Yeah. Also, like what the community lacks, and how we can move forward, right, as young people facing the obstacles of systemic racism and oppression. So, here are these clips. What would you like to see in your community?
Connection, more connection. You losing less connection, less businesses and stuff. There was less fun and stuff around the community and stuff. We used to have festivals, block parties.
Right.
Now you see less and less of that. Picnics, all that. Pool party celebrations.
I feel like for Rondo, I feel like black wealthy people are just a wealthy community that needs to come together instead of doing things separately.
Right.
Because we have to come together as a people.
Marquis was talking about that. There's young people are disconnected.
You see a lot of like every man for himself. I feel like you
right.
So that gets a lot of, especially young people that's successful, that makes them a target. So I feel like, we need more of that. People instead of them being a target on their own, they should come together, start helping the community, and bringing those thoughts and ideas out there to the public and stuff. I feel like how the system is built right now, I feel like it's targeting our people more to where we, fighting each other instead of working together.
Yeah.
And
that's what the system doesn't want. They don't want us to work together. They don't want us to really realize what's really going on and really.
We got a lot of power, especially if we was smarter, if we was more educated. We still got time, I feel like we need to start teaching our future kids. Like when we have kids in the future, we gotta teach them what's right, what's wrong, what you're gonna see and how to deal with those problems and stuff. Cause it's already too late. We all got trauma, but now it's like, how do we deal with this?
What are you gonna do about it?
Yeah, how we gonna come together about it instead of just dealing with it on our own type stuff.
So those were the clips. The first one was Marquis, and then the second and third one was Malachi. They have some good things to say. So what y'all think?
Honestly, the main thing that jumped out to me during the interview was when they were talking about how, like, throughout our neighborhoods nowadays, like you find a lot less community, you find a lot less togetherness, and like I always hear like older generations talk about, damn, like life was so much different back then. Like people actually went out and like had get-togethers, and it was so much different from how it is today. I feel like there's so much more isolation, people staying in their house, like every man for themselves, like what was talked about in the clip. Like there's a lot of that now.
No, I'd 100% agree with that. I remember like being able to just go outside and like someone's having a barbecue, I would just like
play with the neighborhood kids. Like now that doesn't happen. Like,
that doesn't happen.
I don't
so often.
see that happening.
Yeah.
You know, some say it was like due to COVID, but even before COVID.
Even before COVID,
I feel like COVID just like made it a problem, right? People were like, "Oh, this is happening," right?
Yeah. And it's definitely the fact that like we are going against each other. It's a huge problem.
Yeah.
And I can.
I feel like it's not talked about how much like, I guess like discord and disagreements and I guess like kind of hate for each other within like minority communities. Like there's so many, there's just a lot of tensions that doesn't really get talked about much.
I feel like a good thing that Marquis said was pretty much like what his community like he just started listing them, right? Like he had it in the back of his mind the whole time, but I feel like that was like the first time he really got to, you know, tell people, because like I don't know something,
right? And that kind of goes back to what I was talking about before. Like a lot of people think that like young people don't know what's really going on,
they don't
but like
notice the state of their communities.
Exactly, but like you just really have to give youth a platform to open up and talk about these things, because all that knowledge is there, all those life experiences are there. They just need a stage and a mic to just go off.
Yeah,
very much so.
The things that Malachi said were like, if we come together, we can make stuff, you know, happen. You know, it's just that young people right now don't really have the mechanisms of power,
you know,
to really make change.
But that's a good question though. Why do you think that is though? Why do you feel like, I mean, obviously it was never perfect, but why do you think like nowadays, a lot of the times in our community, like ethnic minority communities in towns and cities, like it's just like there's like that same magic or sparkle, or like that sense of community is not like it used to be.
I think one thing is the like technological advances that we're having, where it's like we don't have to be outside as much as we used to be. You know, things are getting a lot more like, you know, just like crazier technology. I know that sounds like technology, but
you sound old, bro.
But it is the truth, you know. We have like all these things that are like grabbing our attention, and then sometimes we just forget to like, you know, just go outside or go talk to your neighbor.
And also I just feel like the world is just getting more and more depressing with time. Like, I mean, like you have like the climate going downhill, inflation making everything expensive, like the cost of living is crazy. People are barely floating. I mean, all the pandemic, all these different things happening in the world. Like it's just like it's no.
Yeah, it really is. I feel like it's a factor of convenience, right? Like you said, it's easier. But also, I feel like it does have something to do with technology, but like also like what you said, the political climate, right? Like the state of things. You know, I feel like when people view all these things that are happening, all these negative things, all these crazy things of like how, you know, we're sending all this money, you know, overseas, and then nothing's being spent here, right? And I feel like people give up, right?
Yeah,
people get disenfranchised.
Yeah,
you know, so I feel like it really is, you know, it's both, right? It's technology, obviously, you know, there's many studies about it, right? But then also I feel like it's the political climate, like what's happening around the world, right? And people get tired, right?
Yeah,
it's really easy to get like burnt out in this day and age. It is.
And I'd also say there's not a lot of like people funding like things for like the community to do outside. Like you don't really see like mini rec centers or just like places for young youth to go to do.
Like Rondo Days is starting this year, for the first time in how many years, right? And that's gonna happen this summer, which we will be there and get interviews. But like the fact that it's the first time in how many years it's been, kind of sad, isn't it?
Yeah,
right? It
like-
should have been a thing that happened every year.
Yeah,
You know?
you find a lot of like disinvestment from like things that are for community.
Yeah. So I think that brings us to next video.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In these next two clips, they're going to be talking about how youth can be more involved in the community. And yeah, let's go.
This is the youth teaching the youth instead of the originals organization and the OGs teaching the youth.
Right.
More of the
passing
youth.
their legacy.
Maybe a lot-
Passing the legacy.
I feel like a lot of black people, just especially me, I feel like I got a lot more catching up to do. We behind mentally because our parents and stuff like that, stuff they was going through, that got pushed onto us, past traumas and stuff like that. Black people, we've been behind for like hundreds of years. I feel like if we was taught, or if we had the same education level as like other people, we'll be way more advanced as a society altogether.
Yeah.
You know, I feel like black people, it should be more black people in like courts and stuff like that, police departments, because it'll stop like a lot of police brutality and stuff like that, overpowering and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Business, I feel like we should learn about business for sure, credit and stuff like
Yeah.
that, because a lot of black people, colored people, we don't know about that until like it's too late.
Yeah.
So I feel like stuff like that, we should learn more about that.
Yeah, those were the clips. What do you guys think?
Yeah, so one of my biggest takeaways from that clip was when Marquis was talking about how one of the biggest issues that youth are facing is that a lot of us are being taught by other youth, and how a lot of us don't have like those elder figures to give us guidance and to pass down knowledge to us in education. And that was another part that was talked about in the video, like how there's just a lot of education that we lack. And not only it's not like, oh, it's all the youth's fault, like they're not going out reading books and doing these things, but also like it was like what we talked about, or what they talked about earlier, is how like a lot of us don't have people to teach us these things and to educate us.
Yeah, no, that's very true. Now I think about it,
Right. Just like remembering from like past experiences.
yeah,
You know, some people don't have, you know, that mentor figure. Some do, but I don't know. Just feel like young people really need to really learn from the past to learn about, you know, the present and the future, right?
right.
So yeah, with the second video, because you know, what we talked about was more with what Marquis said, was about like young people being taught by young people and all that.
Right.
But the one that Malachi said in that video, where he pretty much said like he wants more, you know, black people in positions of, you know, authority, power, like, you know, positions just to be around the community. But you know, that thought brings me back to podcast 1 of season 1, where you went on your rant about black capitalism. Now, I get where Malachi is coming from, but it really is with the intention, like, right? Like, what is the system that they're serving, right?
Yeah, there's a lot. I'm curious what you think about that, Jahai. Like, everybody has their own opinions and ways they go about it, but I've always been a believer about how like it doesn't necessarily matter like who it is you're voting into office. Like it's the system is in it itself inherently built to uphold oppressions.
Yeah,
no matter who's running it.
That's definitely very true. I remember a while, like I think that was like a few months ago, I talked to Jeremiah Ellison, which is like the district. He watches after the St. Paul district, and I was able to like actually like have like a personal conversation with him and just like talking to him just about like really he had like all the restrictions that kind of stop him from being able to like help the community.
Oh,
yeah.
Right.
And just like I feel like you have a lot less power being up in like, you know, higher up than just starting your own thing.
Like grassroots.
Yeah. Like you're way more restricted being, I don't know, the president than being some
like a nonprofit.
Yeah. You have like way more control and
way more connection
to like, you know, the community that you're on. You're able to actually see what's going on, and there's a lot less restrictions in that system that hold you back.
And also like whenever like the higher you go on like the hierarchy of like politicians, like I always get kind of like weary of people that are like way up there, because like you had to have done some stuff to get that high up. Like you had to like have exploited some people, or like got some dirt under your nails, or just done something. Like I don't know. I lack that trust. A lot of people do. With
your point about, does it really matter who's in there? It's really about the system itself and really changing the system.
Yeah.
And again, what you said, Jahai, with as you go up, kind of lose connection. But like with nonprofits, you have full connection to the community.
Yeah.
So I feel like young people really need to focus on their own communities, right? Instead of really going to the chambers of power to get, if they do go in there, they'll get more disconnected. I feel like, especially with what you said, the higher you go, the more dirt that's under your fingers,
Yeah.
Or like the more stuff that's on your conscience.
And that's not to say like don't go places and do things with your life. It's just like when it comes to climbing that like political ladder, like
just be careful.
Just be careful, really.
Also stay true to yourself, right? Because there's a lot of many examples of like false promises and
or like people instead like getting like bought out, and like instead like they're getting paid a lot of money to do certain things instead of actually listening to the community they're supposed to be serving.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
I feel like we should really focus on fixing what's going on before going into the position of power. Start fixing the system outside of like being up there, and then start like throwing in our troops in.
So yeah, like obviously it's been very apparent that a huge theme of this episode was really centering youth voice. That's why we did the event. That's why we did all of this. So I want to ask you all, like, why do you think it's important to have youth voices and youth perspectives on such big issues that affect our lives?
Yeah.
I mean, we are the future, right? We're the next generation. We got to start sometime, right? Why not start now?
Yeah.
You see all these people in positions of power who are like in their 90s. It's time to go, man. It's time to go. It's time to get, some more younger folks who may be more connected.
Right. And then also the world that they're used to being in is like it's gone.
It really does
it's
not.
Dead and gone.
Yeah, hang out with your grandchildren.
Changed.
Okay?
Yeah.
Take time off. Give it to us, okay?
Yeah. But not only are we the future, we're also the now. We're the present. And
Literally.
I feel like a lot of people like disregard like our life experiences and the things that we want to bring to the table.
Just because we're young.
Just because we're young. They think we don't know anything. They think we're ignorant. We don't have any authority to speak on certain issues. But no, we do. We definitely do.
We see what's happening in the world.
Yeah, we're not stupid.
We're not dumb. Guy, what you think?
No, I 100% agree with like everything you guys just said. Like I don't know what much I can add on to that.
Right.
It's like,
sorry.
I don't know. I feel like they're afraid of like how much we can change. We're at this point where like we're getting so much knowledge from like different places.
TikTok, that's why we want to ban TikTok,
like honestly, like we are in the age of the internet, like globalization. Like we grew up being connected to people from across the world. Like we weren't just limited to like the folks we had in our school or in our neighborhood. Like we like with our phones, like we hold the world in our hands, and like we are so much more open-minded generally because of that.
That's so true, because back in the day when the old people were more younger, they only had a TV.
Yeah.
Right? There wasn't any way to verify what the newsman was saying. There wasn't anything to verify what was happening. Oh, what's happening in Russia? You only had to view the TV to
like
know.
all you could hear is like the propaganda.
Exactly.
All you could hear is that.
There wasn't TikTok. There wasn't Instagram. There wasn't Facebook. There wasn't all these. There was a cell phones.
Yeah.
Right? There wasn't. Right then and there, communication with people across the world. Right. To be like, hey, what's going on over there? This is happening,
exactly.
Right?
Like,
oh wait, that's not what the newsman is saying. You can verify.
Even when it comes to like things like having stereotypes and biases against certain groups of people, like the way that you dismantle that is by actually interacting with those people and learning that those are incorrect. And so like us being able to interact with so many different kinds of people, I feel like was really key in shaping who we generally are as a generation.
Exactly.
No, 100%.
All right, I think that's a good place to end it off. Nice discussion. I think one that needed to be discussed. Next episode, we will get voices from at Shore Rondo residence at the Juneteenth event. We're going to be there with cameras, mics. We're going to interview
out in the
folks.
community.
Yeah, we're going to be out in the community and meet them where they're at. So we'll see you next time. Thank you for watching.
Bye.
Thank you for watching our podcast. If you like what you see, give us a like, hit that subscribe button, and click that notification bell to get notified when we put out new podcast episodes.